If I asked you, how do you imagine paradise? At the beginning of life. Surely you would describe to me a landscape full of flowers, birds, and insects pollinating this exuberant nature. But now I come in, yes, the narrator of this documentary, to damage that beautiful image and tell you that from the painting you imagine, you must remove all the flowers. You must not leave any. And now you do have an image that is close to the reality of the early years of the Earth. The plants and trees that initially populated the Earth, and not to make the story so long, were the seaweed. After this first appearance and after many years, these algae evolve and the first land plants appear, and they are called mosses and liver plants. Again, many years pass, and these first primitive plants evolve, and the first vascular plants and ferns emerge. These plants and ferns begin to grow more and more, establishing themselves in every corner of the Earth, in each different climate until they evolve. And thus the first conifers appear, which are the first pine trees that we know today. And then, after only 140 million years, since the first seaweed appeared, the first trees and flowering plants or angiosperms emerge. Now that we have reached this moment, it is the beginning of our true story. Join us on this tour through the fascinating world of flowers. We will talk about the importance of flowers in ancient civilizations, the language of flowers, including applications in medicine and gastronomy, until we immerse ourselves in the prosperous flower industry. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, activate the bell and leave us your comments. Now let's get started. Have you ever wondered how our ancestors viewed flowers? It turns out that since always, flowers have been much more than a pretty decoration. For ancient civilizations, these small works of art from nature had deep meanings, practical uses, and even a little magic. Let's travel through time and discover how flowers left their mark on some of the most fascinating cultures in history. In Egypt, thousands of years ago, the lotus was the floral star. Imagine an Egyptian crossing the Nile in his boat, surrounded by floating lotuses. This was no decorative detail. The lotus had an almost sacred meaning. It represented rebirth and creation because every night it closed its petals and, as if by magic, opened again with the sun, a true symbol of hope. The Egyptians used flowers not only to pay homage to their gods, but also on their tombs. Did you know that wreaths of flowers were found in Tutankhamun's tomb? It was his way of saying, someone important rests here. In addition, floral perfumes and ointments were the most popular at that time, both for the living and the dead. A pharaoh without his floral aroma was like a pharaoh without a pyramid. If we continue our journey towards ancient India, we find the lotus again, this time with a mystical touch. This flower was so special that sacred texts such as the Vedas constantly mention it. For Hindus, the lotus symbolized purity and detachment, a flower that grows in muddy waters but emerges flawless. And of course, she was associated with deities, such as Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, who always sits on a lotus. But not everything was lotus. Jasmine, with its intoxicating aroma, was the flower of love and devotion. In temples, jasmine garlands were, and still are, offered to the gods. And what about weddings? No minimalist centerpieces. In ancient weddings, flowers were the absolute protagonists, decorating the bride and groom, the place, and even the ceremonies. Now, let's travel to another civilization. In ancient China, flowers had their own language. If you were a Tang Dynasty poet and didn't talk about peonies in your verses, were you really considered a poet? The peony, known as the Queen of Flowers in ancient China, was synonymous with wealth, honor, and feminine beauty. It was so revered that the imperial gardens were full of them, and everyone who could strove to cultivate them. But it was not only the peony that had its place in Chinese culture. The chrysanthemum, with its autumnal elegance, represented longevity and dignified retirement. Thus, the gardens were more than just beautiful places. They were philosophical spaces where one could reflect on life and nature. And how can we forget the Greeks with their mythology and the Romans with their floral celebrations? The ancient Greeks and Romans saw flowers everywhere. Did you know that according to Greek mythology, The narcissus flower arose when a young man named Narcissus fell so much in love with his reflection that he stared at it until it turned into a flower. This myth is not only poetic, but also a reminder that looking in the mirror too much can be, well, problematic. In Rome, flowers weren't just for storytelling, they were part of the festivities. During the Floralias, a festival dedicated to Flora, the goddess of flowers, everything was filled with colors and aromas. Imagine streets decorated with garlands, dances, music, and flowers flying through the air. It was a celebration of spring, fertility, and abundance. If we cross the Atlantic, pre-Columbian cultures were not far behind either. The Aztecs, for example, had a spiritual relationship with flowers. They grew them in their floating gardens, called chinampas, and offered them to their gods in rituals. To them, flowers weren't just pretty, they were a bridge between the terrestrial world and the divine. The cempasúchil, or commonly called taguete, the famous flower of the dead, has its roots in these traditions. With its vibrant orange color, it represented the light of the sun and guided the spirits during the Day of the Dead. But not everything was so solemn. Flowers were also used to decorate and beautify festivals, ceremonies, and even the human body. Today, it still continues to be an important and unavoidable element in the Day of the Dead in Mexico, one of the best-known celebrations in the world. So you see, flowers have always been faithful companions of humanity. They weren't just pretty decorations. They were symbols, tools, and even protagonists of divine stories. Each ancient civilization found something special in them, something that resonated with their beliefs and their way of understanding the world. Perhaps that connection is the reason why, even today, we continue to give flowers to express what words sometimes cannot say. Now let's continue with flowers and their language. You will be surprised at everything they can tell you. Can you imagine being able to say, "I love you," "I miss you," or even "don't talk to me again" without having to open your mouth? That's how amazing the language of flowers was. A kind of Victorian WhatsApp where each flower had its own emoji, but much more comfortable. Before instant messages existed, people had to be creative to express their feelings, especially when it was not appropriate to talk about certain things. And that's where the flowers come in. From ancient times to the rise of florography in the 19th century, flowers have been more than just pretty decorations. They have been little messengers loaded with meaning. The language of flowers was not born out of nowhere. Humanity has always sought symbolism in nature. Think about cultures like the Greek, where each flower seemed to have a tragic story, like that of poor little Narcissus, in love with himself and turned into a flower. However, the real rise of florography came in the Victorian era, a time of pompous dresses, strict rules, and furtive glances. Here, flowers became a secret language to say what could not be expressed openly. During the Victorian era, giving a bouquet of flowers was like sending a letter. But be careful, because it was not as simple as taking the first pretty flowers you saw and that's it. Each species, each color, and even the way the flowers were presented had a meaning. For example, a red rose screamed passionate love. A white rose whispered of innocence and purity. A yellow rose? It could mean friendship or jealousy, depending on the context. Be careful with that one. What if someone gave you a yellow carnation? Well, bad luck because it meant contempt. The message will also depend on how you will deliver the flowers. If the bouquet was offered with the flowers facing up, the message was positive. But if the flowers looked down, oops, there was a hidden message, and not always a good one. In the Victorian era, florography became so popular that books appeared dedicated exclusively to the meaning of flowers. These floral guides were like the Google Translator of the time, helping people create bouquets loaded with symbolism. What did you want to say? Love, regret, gratitude, or even revenge? Everything was covered. For example, The violet spoke of modesty and humility. The sunflower said, "You are the center of my universe." The hydrangea could mean gratitude or vanity, depending on the color. Imagine the pressure of giving flowers at that time. You not only had to choose them carefully, but also make sure the other person understood your message, lest you accidentally confuse your feelings and end up declaring your contempt instead of your love. The beautiful thing about the language of flowers is that it not only serves to express romantic emotions, it was also perfect for other situations. If you wanted to apologize, hyacinth was ideal. If you wanted to wish success, the clover was your best option. But flowers were not only for lovers and furtive lovers. They also serve to express other feelings. For example, flowers can express mourning, like the lily, which symbolized the purity of the departing soul. Or in friendship, flowers like the bluebell represented trust and loyalty. There are even flowers to be used in politics or social causes. Floral arrangements were a tool to convey support or protest in an elegant way, and many times the red carnation was used. Although florography was popularized in Victorian Europe, this floral language had equivalents in other cultures. For example, in Japan, cherry blossoms or sakura symbolize the fragility and ephemeral beauty of life. In Hawaii, flower garlands convey hospitality, respect, and love. And now, is the language of flowers still alive? Although we no longer live in the Victorian era, florography has had a small resurgence in recent years. Today, many modern florists create custom bouquets based on the meaning of flowers. Furthermore, in this digital world, the idea of sending messages through flowers has a special charm. It is a tangible, almost magical way to connect with someone in a world where everything seems to be virtual. The language of flowers reminds us of something important. Sometimes words are not enough to express what we feel. Flowers, with their beauty and symbolism, are a way to say, "I love you," "thank you," or even "goodbye," in a way that goes straight to the heart. So the next time you give flowers, think about the message you are sending, because behind every petal there is a story waiting to be told. Now, let's continue with flowers in the medical field. Who knew that those flowers that decorate gardens, balconies, and dining tables are actually potential little pharmacies? Think about this. Long before pills and syrups existed, when the concept of pharmacy was basically a field full of plants, the flowers were the real stars of the show. From chamomile tea for an upset stomach to lavender to relax you after a hard day, flowers have been there, silently caring for us with their natural magic. This chapter is a journey to the past and present, where we will explore how flowers have been fundamental in traditional medicine, how they have evolved to become key ingredients in modern medicines, and how, even in the 21st century, they remain a natural resource. Invaluable. Because come on, they're not just pretty. Flowers have much more to offer. If we go back in time, we will see that the relationship between flowers and health began since humans noticed that plants could heal. Before laboratories and pharmacies, our ancestors depended on nature to treat their ailments, and flowers were some of their most reliable allies. For example, in ancient China, traditional medicine used flowers such as chrysanthemum to treat eye problems and fever. In Egypt, doctors used the lotus flower and chamomile to soothe pain and facilitate sleep. Meanwhile, the Greeks and Romans mixed flowers such as lavender and fennel into their medicinal preparations, not only for their healing properties, but also for their fragrance. Some flowers have earned a special place in history thanks to their medicinal properties. Here we present some of the most iconic. Chamomile, the star of infusions for stomach upset. Used since the time of the ancient Egyptians, this small flower has been known for its calming, anti-inflammatory and relaxing properties. Calendula, a trusted remedy to treat wounds and burns. In the Middle Ages, calendula was used in poultices to speed healing. Its ability to fight infections made it an essential ingredient in medieval apothecaries. The poppy, the source of opium, and therefore of medications such as morphine. Although its use must be strictly controlled, it has been key to pain management since ancient times. The Sumerians called it the plant of joy. Valerian, nicknamed nature's tranquilizer, this flower has been used for centuries to treat anxiety and insomnia. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates already wrote about its ability to calm nerves. Lavender, popular in aromatherapy, it also has antiseptic and relaxing properties. The Romans used it in their baths to clean wounds and calm the mind. With the advancement of science, flowers stopped being just empirical remedies and began to be studied in depth. For example, did you know that acetylsalicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin, was inspired by the anti-inflammatory properties of willow flower? Not everything was the creativity of the German scientists. Nature gave them a great push. Nowadays, many people look for more natural options to take care of their health, and flowers continue to be protagonists in alternative medicine. Among the most popular approaches are aromatherapy, where essential oils from flowers such as lavender, rose, and jasmine are used to reduce stress, improve mood, and relieve pain. Who hasn't enjoyed a good cup of chamomile or linden tea to calm the nerves? Infusions and tisanas continue to be one of the most accessible ways to take advantage of the properties of flowers. In addition to their direct uses in medicine, flowers also contribute to our health indirectly. Gardens full of flowers not only brighten the eye, they also purify the air, reduce stress, and promote emotional well-being. Did you know that in hospitals and health centers, flowers play an important role in the recovery of patients? Being around fresh flowers or gardens has been shown to reduce anxiety and speed up the healing process. Research into the medicinal properties of flowers does not stop. As biotechnology advances, scientists are studying new species to discover compounds that could become revolutionary treatments. For example, orchid flowers contain antioxidant substances that could have cosmetic and medical applications. But there is a problem. Who would hand over an orchid to be experimented with? From the gardens of ancient times to the most advanced laboratories, flowers have been faithful companions in our search for health. Every time we see a daisy or breathe the aroma of a rose, perhaps we are facing a remedy yet to be discovered. So the next time you walk through a garden or receive a bouquet of flowers, remember, those delicate wonders are not only pretty, they are also powerful allies in our lives. Well, flowers brighten our lives, but surely the background music made you dance at least one toe. Now, let's continue with flowers in gastronomy. Before we begin, please, restaurant music. Something soft but happy. Who said that flowers are only used to decorate tables or gardens? In reality, many of them are small edible jewels that, in addition to brightening the eye, can transform any dish into a memorable experience. From the banquets of ancient civilizations to the most modern kitchens, flowers have been a secret ingredient that adds flavor, texture, and a touch of elegance. So yes, flowers are not only pretty, they are delicious too. In this chapter, we will explore how they are used in cooking, the flavors they provide, and of course, some curiosities that will whet your appetite. The use of flowers in gastronomy is not something new. In reality, it is a practice that dates back thousands of years. In ancient cultures, flowers were not only seen as decorations, but as ingredients full of flavor, with nutritional properties and, in some cases, even magic. In ancient Rome, rose and violet petals were common ingredients at their banquets. They mixed them in salads, wines, and desserts to add an aromatic touch. In Mexico, pumpkin flowers have been protagonists of traditional gastronomy since pre-Hispanic times, becoming a filling for quesadillas, soups, and stews. In India, neem and plantain flowers are key ingredients in many dishes, celebrated for both their flavor and health benefits. If you've never eaten flowers, you're probably wondering, what do they taste like? Well, the answer is, it depends. Flowers have a range of flavors as varied as the colors of the rainbow. Some are sweet, others spicy, and there are some that have a subtly bitter flavor that gives a special touch to dishes. Here are some examples. Nasturtiums, with a slightly spicy flavor similar to that of radish, are perfect for salads. Lavender flowers with a sweet flavor make them ideal for desserts, drinks, and you can even find them in breads. Sweets, jams, ice cream, and syrups are made with rose petals. Marigolds, often called poor man's saffron, have an earthy flavor that works well in rice dishes and soups. Pansies with their mild flavor make them an ideal edible garnish for desserts and salads. It's funny how something so delicate can have such a big impact on the flavor of a dish, don't you think? If there is a place where flowers shine, it is in the world of desserts. From violet-flavored French macaroons to rose ice cream, flowers have been a star ingredient to sweeten life. For example, for ice cream and sorbets, lavender, rose or jasmine flavors are ideal for their unique aroma and refreshing touch. On cakes and cupcakes, crystallized flower petals are a garnish that not only looks beautiful, but also adds a crunchy texture and subtle sweetness. I recommend trying flower-infused honey, a floral luxury that can be used in everything from yogurt to toast. And if you have a meeting and you want to show off on a low budget, then I suggest the jellies with encapsulated edible flowers. These creations are a feast for the eyes and the palate. Today, flowers have conquered the kitchens of famous chefs and luxury restaurants. It is not uncommon to see flower petals as part of favorite dishes that look like works of art. In haute cuisine, flowers not only add flavor, but also a visual touch that elevates any creation. Although edible flowers are delicious, not all flowers are suitable for consumption. Some can be toxic, so it's always important to make sure the flowers you plan to use are safe. Also, avoid consuming flowers from florists, as they are usually treated with chemicals. If you want to start experimenting, it is best to look for flowers specifically grown for consumption or grow them yourself at home. In addition to teas, flowers have found a special place in mixology. From cocktails to lemonades, flowers can transform any drink into a unique experience. Imagine a gin and tonic decorated with rose petals, or a daisy with a hibiscus flower. Pure sophistication. Have you tried floral lemonades? Just add a touch of lavender or jasmine, and you will have a refreshing drink with an irresistible aroma. Nowadays, flowers are having a big moment in modern gastronomy. With the trend towards natural and sustainable foods, its use has become even more popular. From luxury restaurants to home kitchens, flowers continue to be a source of inspiration for chefs and food lovers around the world. Flowers in gastronomy are a reminder that nature not only feeds us, but also delights us. So, the next time you see a garden full of flowers, think about all the culinary potential you have in front of you. Maybe you will find in that bouquet of flowers an ingredient that transforms your cooking into an unforgettable experience. But come, leave your neighbor's garden alone. It better be the opportunity to start your own garden. Now, to finish this video, I'm going to talk to you about the flower industry. The flowers. Those little wonders that continue to steal our sighs at every stage of life. From the bouquet you receive on your birthday to the flowers at your wedding, or even those that decorate a final farewell to a loved one, they are present in the most important moments of our existence. But beyond their beauty, flowers are also the center of a giant global business full of curiosities. In this chapter, we will explore how flowers have become a multi-billion-dollar industry connecting farmers, florists, and customers around the world. If you've ever wondered where those perfect roses you buy at the supermarket or florist come from, prepare to be surprised. They've probably traveled more than you. The main flower exporters in the world are countries such as Colombia, the Netherlands, Ecuador, and Kenya. The Netherlands, with its famous tulip fields, not only produces flowers, but is the heart of global distribution thanks to the Aalsmeer flower auction, the largest market on the planet. Imagine this scene. A rose is grown in Colombia, carefully packaged to maintain its freshness, transported by plane to the United States or Europe, and in less than 48 hours it is in the hands of a florist, ready to adorn a bouquet. Quite an epic journey for a little flower. This is an industry that generates more than $50 billion a year. And there are dates that are crucial for sales. For example, on Valentine's Day, millions of workers in the flower industry work and prepare almost 3 months in advance to be able to produce and deliver all the flowers that people around the world demand. It is an industry that generates millions of jobs because its processes are carried out by hand, as it is a very fragile product. But not everything is rosy in the world of flowers. This industry faces important challenges. For example, its environmental impact. The international transport of flowers and the use of pesticides can affect the environment. For this reason, many florists are opting for more ecological practices, such as organic cultivation and sustainable packaging. Additionally, flowers have a short life and need refrigeration, which means the logistics to transport them must be fast, efficient, and expensive. One day late can ruin everything. There is also digital competition, where small local florists often compete with digital giants, forcing them to be more creative to sustain themselves and not disappear. So the next time you hold a bouquet of flowers, think about all the work, stories, and emotions those flowers have carried with them on their journey to your hands. Today, flowers have more meanings than ever. They are silent messages in a world full of notifications, a way to show love, gratitude, or comfort without the need for words. Did you know that now you can order flowers with one click and send them to any corner of the planet? Thanks to online stores, it is no longer necessary to run to the nearest florist. You can choose a bouquet from your sofa, but hey, the essence of giving them and enjoying the moment is lost. Flowers are also stars on Instagram and Pinterest, where flower arrangements and art installations made with petals become viral trends. Who hasn't seen those wedding arches covered in roses or the photos of breakfasts with peonies in the background? Today, flowers are not just bouquets, they are experiences. From walls covered in orchids to hanging bougainvillea ceilings, floral decoration is synonymous with sophistication and magic at any celebration. Beyond selling bouquets, the floral industry is a space for creativity. Florists around the world experiment with shapes, colors, and styles to create unique arrangements that are true works of art. From giant event installations to small table accents, the possibilities are endless. At the end of the day, flowers are much more than a pretty decoration or a romantic gesture. They are a universal language, a reminder of the ephemeral beauty of life, and an industry that moves millions of hearts. So the next time you hold a bouquet of flowers, think about all the work, stories, and emotions those flowers have carried with them on their journey to your hands. We hope you liked this video. We have one more video left to explore topics as extensive as flowers in art, and also its environmental and ecological impact, its role in pollinators, and therefore the biodiversity that is so necessary for the world. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Until next time,